Mercy sleeps in the shadows, a whispered redemption. A Heal Our World book by Suffering Well. Chapter 6, Bread of Mercy. The city around them had faded to shadow, the street lamps flickering on like distant stars. Frank pulled his coat tighter, the rosary still looped around his hand. It wasn't cold exactly, but something about this moment made him feel like he needed covering. Father Caritas didn't rush to speak. He sat back down beside Frank, his hands open, resting lightly on his knees. So, he said, John 6. Frank gave a half laugh. Yeah. He paused. Then, I've read it a few times. Feels like it shifts halfway through. Starts off kind of poetic, then suddenly gets strange, like Jesus changes tones. You noticed that, Father Caritas said, pleased. That's important. Frank looked over, uncertain. He starts with a miracle, the priest continued, the feeding of the 5,000. People are amazed. They want more. They follow him, maybe for answers, maybe for bread. And he tells them they're looking for the wrong kind of food. Frank nodded slowly. That part I get. Don't labor for the food that perishes. Yes, he's pointing them towards something eternal. But then, Father Caritas' voice lowered, reverent. He begins saying things that even his closest followers didn't expect. Things like, I am the bread of life. Frank looked down at his hands. That's where I get lost. I mean, is it a metaphor like I am the gate? Is he just saying we need him spiritually? Father Caritas tilted his head. That's what a lot of people thought at first, even some of his disciples. He turned to face Frank more fully. But Jesus doesn't soften his language. He intensifies it. He doesn't say, I am like bread. He says, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. And when they start to murmur, he doesn't pull back. He uses a stronger word in the original Greek, trogein, which means to chew, to gnaw. He's pushing the image deeper, not lightening it. Frank was quiet a long time. That's intense. It is, the priest agreed, so much so that many left, and he let them. He didn't chase them down to explain it away. Frank's brow furrowed. But why? Why say something so extreme? Father Caritas' smile was faint, because he meant it, and because he was offering something that couldn't be received by half-belief. He looked toward the street where the traffic had thinned and the stars were beginning to win their way in the sky. The Eucharist isn't a metaphor to us, Frank. It's him, truly, body, blood, soul, and divinity, hidden in what looks like bread, but not just symbol. It's the real presence of Christ, his sacrifice made present again, not re-sacrificed, but re-presented, offered, given. Frank swallowed hard. That's what you gave that guy earlier? Father Caritas nodded. Yes, he's Catholic. We talked before. He was returning after a long time away. Frank stared at the ground. And that's why I can't receive. The words weren't bitter, just factual. For now, the priest said softly. Frank looked over, surprised. Father Caritas shrugged gently. You're hungry. I can see it. And Christ meets the hungry. He knows how to wait with you in that longing. They sat quietly again. Frank finally said, what if I believe? I'm not saying I do, but what if I believe and don't know what to do next? Father Caritas smiled again, not a smug smile, something deeply warm. Then keep walking, keep reading, keep praying. Let your hunger lead you. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small booklet, slender, worn. Here, he said, handing it to Frank. It's a short explanation of the Mass and the Eucharist. No pressure, just something to sit with. Frank took it. I'll read it. I know you will. They stood then, not because the conversation was finished, but because the night was. Father Caritas looked at him kindly. You're closer than you think, Frank. Frank didn't know what to say to that. He didn't feel that close. It all sounded weird, but maybe true. He just nodded, tucking the booklet into his coat pocket. As they parted, the rosary tapped gently against his leg with each step, and somewhere, deep in his chest, the hunger remained. But now it no longer felt like emptiness. It felt like invitation,